What's going on everyone, Mike here, and in this video we're pitching the Sony Xperia Z3 against the Samsung Galaxy S5. From the start you should know that these phones have little in common, except for the fact that both are on Android, both are motorized by Qualcomm 801 hardware, and both are flagships, the best each of the two manufacturers have to offer these days. The Xperia is a glass-covered monolith with rounded metallic edges. It's thinner and lighter than the previous Z2, but still not as light as the Galaxy. The S5 is entirely made out of plastic, and while that keeps the weight down, it also leads to a cheap and flimsy feeling phone, one that squeaks when grabbed a bit firmer and just can't compete with the other heavyweight smartphones of the moment in terms of looks and build quality. The back polycarbonate cover is however removable on the S5, allowing access to a replaceable battery, so the Galaxy has this on its side. At the same time, I do find the S5 somewhat more comfortable in hand, mostly because its case is grippier, while Sony's glass and metal body is slippery and prone to smudges. This aside, both handsets offer various degrees of water and dust resistance, but neither are actually ruggedized, so you'd better not drop them. As a result, ports and connectors are covered by small caps on both of these, and the S5's backplate has a rubber membrane in order to keep water away from the main components. I do trust the Z3's approach more though, and I think it will do a better job at keeping water at bay if needed. Anyway, when it comes to minor details, Samsung's handset has a few aces down its sleeve. It packs a fingerprint sensor integrated within the home key, a heart rate sensor on the back, an IR blaster and a USB 3.0 slot. The Z3 brings its set of front-facing stereo speakers, way clearer and louder than the backfiring speaker on the S5, and to be frank, you'll probably appreciate this more in everyday use than all those features of the S5 mentioned above. Moving on, these two devices pack excellent displays. However, the Xperia gets an IPS Triluminous panel, while the Galaxy gets a Super AMOLED panel, and each has its pros and cons. On one side, the Z3's screen is bright and pictures natural colors and whites, but suffers from somewhat poorer viewing angles. On the other, the S5 screen impresses with its deep black and contrast, but skews the colors badly, displaying them in an oversaturated manner. So it's really up to your personal preference to choose one side or the other. The same can be said about your daily experience with these two. They are both running Android 4.4 KitKat on one of the fastest hardware platforms of the moment. The Z3 gets 3GB of RAM, while the S5 only 2, but that's the only major difference between them when it comes to internal specs. However, each manufacturer offers its own take on the software, customizing and changing most of the UI elements and bundling the phones with their own proprietary apps. Sony's solution is somewhat simpler and cleaner looking, closer to the stock KitKat experience, while Samsung's TouchWiz UI changes pretty much everything that can be changed. But while somewhat cluttered and ugly, these customizations are actually powerful once you get used to them. At the end of the day though, both phones can easily handle everything you'll throw at them, from basic activities to complex tasks, from browsing to watching all sorts of video files and running the latest games. I do have to add that the S5 tends to hiccup and choke from time to time, while the Z3 does offer a smoother and more consistent experience, but Samsung's latest software updates have addressed most of the performance issues. Of course, there's no point in having all this kind of power if the phone is going to die on you quickly, but that's really not an issue here. Both devices pack large enough batteries to keep them going for about 2 days of average use, and both offer ways of squeezing more life through some energy-saving working modes. The S5 does get a replaceable battery though, while the Xperia Z3 does not. Cameras are some other major do-or-dies on modern smartphones, and these devices live up to the expectations. The Galaxy gets a 16-megapixel main shooter with a fast focusing system, while the Z3 gets a 20.7-megapixel camera with a larger sensor, the same we've seen on the previous Z-series phones. These are complemented by complex camera interfaces and plenty of shooting modes and tweaks in each case. But I'll let you be the judge of how good the pictures and clips coming out of these two are, as I've added a few samples for you to review in the written comparison posted on tlbhd.com, there's a link to it in the description. Now, all this being said, we can easily conclude that both these phones have plenty to offer. The S5 is stuffed with features, packs a very good camera and is overall a good handset with little to complain about. But its plastic body, its AMOLED screen, tiny back speaker and cluttered TouchWiz software might not be good enough for some of you. Sony's Z3 is a refinement of the Z2, a phone that already checked almost all the right boxes. The major differences lie on the outside, in the slightly redesigned body, topped by a slightly bumped hardware platform and the newer version of Android. The camera experience remains mostly unchanged though, and that's the only thing that might steer you towards something else. Long story short though, I do think the Sony Z3 is the overall more appealing package here, but that's in the end up to each of you to decide. So make sure to let me know in the comments below which of these phones you like best, the sleek and simple Xperia Z3 or the plasticky Galaxy S5 with all of its features. Either way, that's about it for now. Thank you guys for watching, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, share it around to your friends and stay tuned for my next updates. See you soon!